Welcome everybody back to boostinmotion, guys, and today this video is probably one of the most asked videos that I made in the last 3 years, but this is going to be the updated 2022 version. Guys, this is the video. Is the VR30 reliable, and what is the top reliability issues and annoyances with getting a Q50 or Q60 VR30. Anyway, guys, let's jump into the video. Let's hit it. Welcome everybody back to boostinmotion, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you. Welcome back everybody. First thing, if you're part of the boostinmotion family, you already know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the like button, and hit the like button. Guys, this is something that you guys can give away for free, and every like supports the channel. I'm telling you guys, likes make the channel grow. YouTube favors YouTubers who get a lot of likes on videos. So guys, if you look at the like counter and it's low, just definitely give me a like. All right, so anyway guys, let's jump in and let's talk about it. So what is the top common issue with your VR30 Q50 Q60? And I'm talking about a critical issue. All right, so first thing, I'm gonna put a disclaimer out here. Don't sue me, Infiniti. I'm only regurgitating the information that I got from techs and or the users of your vehicles. So the number one issue that I've been told on the VR30 from other owners is fuel injector failure. Now, shout out to a lot of people in the community who've been looking to problem solve and fix a lot of these issues. And what they have stated is that it doesn't matter if the car is stock, JB4, bolt-on, fully tuned, 91, 93, 87, MS109. The fuel injector failure has happened and can happen if you have a VR30. Now, it happened more commonly on the stock 2016 Q50s and the stock 2017 Q60s, the early model. Mine is a 2017. I've had about 10,000 miles on this car. I think 5,000 to 10,000 miles on this car, and looked through the service record, has never happened. But there are a small batch of people out of the millions of VR30s where this will just happen randomly. And people freaking hate it. Shout out to AMS Performance. They have talked about it in extent, and they took their engineers to do x-rays of why the injector failure might happen. And they, from what they have found out, they stated that metal debris or some kind of debris would get into the injector itself, and they recommend replacing the fuel rail when you want to go with, modifying your car on high amount of E85. And, this is mostly for the modified cars. But for the early model, what they're assuming is that Infiniti, from what they know, Infiniti had updated the part numbers on the fuel rails after a couple of years. So some of those older batches of fuel rails are still out there or on the older model Q50s and Q60s. So if you do have this failure, just know that your fuel rail is probably deteriorating and breaking down. All right, let's go into number 2. So that would be, all right, now I don't need a cease and desist. It's going to be porous block. A lot of people have been hitting me up. I gotta say at least 20 people in the last 30 to 60 days that have had a porous block issue. So with the porous block issue, let me just open the car because I know you guys love looking at the car, but let's talk about it a little bit. Let's hit that. All right. So with the porous block issue, from what I can tell you, from what I remember about engine design and how engines are built, remember it's not a hand-built motor. Pretty much whenever the computers are designing and shaving and boring out these engines, they're pieced together, the heads and the bottom end. With the porous block issue, you will start eating coolant. Now this will be a coolant reservoir. What you would see is that sooner or later, this would have to keep refilling, or you'll notice that the engine keeps getting hotter. On the gauge will keep going up. So you'll notice that this is going lower, so you'll refill it. A day or 2, 3 days, a week later, depends on the frequency, it will keep going down, and you don't see any coolant on the ground or anywhere around, and you just won't understand. What's going on is the coolant is leaking from either the heads or wherever the coolant galleys is, and it's getting into the combustion chamber and going out the exhaust of your car. Now, it is quite common that if you live in a cold area or even sometimes a hot area, when you have a modified VR30, you will see a little bit of smoking. But this smoke will be a lot more different, and it would have a sweet smell because coolant has a sweet smell, and that's how you will start eating the coolant. What caused this issue? We don't know. It might be a manufacturing issue. That's why most people who have had this issue on their stock or modified VR30, usually under warranty, it had gotten replaced. Some people were unfortunate that went in there with modifications and they blamed it on the modifications. That's why I still sit there and say, guys, you don't want to ever go to the dealer with the modifications on. Sorry, some people don't like me to commit fraud, but hey, at the end of the day, I'm trying to save you guys $10,000, $20,000. So that's one of the issues. Now, in the same issue, some people have complained that the oil started looking milky, like chocolate milk. That also means that the coolant is now mixing with the oil. Once again, that can be a head gasket issue, and you would have to, once again, change the motor or rebuild the motor or however you want to. But I wouldn't even rebuild the motor if I had an issue, unless you break it down and you find out that it's the head gasket that might have went. But even then, it's probably better to just swap the motor, or in some of these cases, some of the guys, what the guys been doing was just trading their car in and getting another car. Even one of my closest friends had the same coolant eating issue, and they traded their Q60 in. Yep. So that's another common issue. Now, let's move on to number 3. What is a critical common issue on these Q50 Q60s that's pretty common? This one's going to be weird. It's mainly for people who run a high amount of E85. So it's not really as common for the regular day drivers, but the people who usually run E30 and up, your fuel pressure sensor, this is number 3, your fuel pressure sensor will start getting clogged or get a lot of debris in it. For whatever reason, a lot of this debris, once again, will get on the fuel pressure sensor, and that will start throwing off how the car will be reading, the fuel pressure, and that would affect the amount of power that actually be delivered in the car. So this is usually just for people who run a high amount of ethanol, and this also kind of goes along with the first issue with the fuel rail deteriorating over time, because some of that debris and gunk could be what's getting on the fuel pressure sensor. All right. I'm trying to think, should I also include some of the fixes for this? But, I already kind of did. So the fixes with this one would be AMS sells an aftermarket fuel pressure sensor that they sell, and most people have been just going with that, and they haven't really been having issues. So I would say that's an actual fix for that. Now, while we're still on the engine, there's no other components that I really know of any specific failures that I know of, or that people have hit me up and told me about that I do know of. So there's not much really issues here necessarily with the engine. Now, there's another common issue. I don't want to say it's common, but it has happened to enough people that I do remember it. Your heat exchanger system. These are the coolant. These two are the air-to-water intercoolers, and they have a heat exchanger that's in the front, and they have a coolant temperature sensor, which is right behind the grill. Some people have had that sensor go out. I don't know what has happened, but they have had the sensor go out. It's a small sensor that you guys can purchase, but that has happened, but didn't happen often enough. But it can happen, and I don't want you guys thinking that you're getting this car and it's just going to be completely perfect. Majority of people are not going to have these issues, but a small amount are going to get it and be like, oh my God, Boost, I thought this car was reliable. Oh my God, I'm dealing with this. So that has happened with people. So just want to put that out there and let you guys know. Now, moving off the engine, we're going to talk about the two little baby turbos over here. Now, what I'm going to tell you through my own personal experience, turbos on these cars, depending on how much PSI you might be running them at, or even depending on how much you're beating on this car and the type of oil weight you're using, and how often you let the car warm up and cool off, pretty much these turbos spin very quick. And there's a lot of back pressure on the turbines themselves. So if you're the type of person that's going to abuse these cars, these turbo seals will go. So including myself, it has happened on this car, not this car, my last Q50, where the driver's side turbo started leaking externally. Now it didn't affect the performance, but it had a small oil leak. Nothing crazy where I had to keep topping the oil up, but I knew it was an issue, and I still beat on the car because my car was modified, but it still didn't lose performance. Other people wasn't as fortunate because they the turbos completely blew and oil was just shooting out the exhaust. Now, what I also want to add here is in this. Majority of people who blew their turbo seals were either modified and had aftermarket blow-off kits. So these blow-off kits have to be installed properly. If there is a boost leak, when you install this blow-off valve kit, your turbos will spin even faster because there's a boost leak and the car is trying to achieve a certain amount of PSI. So if there's a leak, the turbos are overspinning themselves. And sometimes you'll never know. So that could be one of the solutions. And also another solution is a lot of you guys beat on these cars in 80, 90 degree weather on 0-20. I don't give a F what you guys talk about. The engineers recommend it. The engineers recommend Granny to be driving these cars, not some 18 to 30-year-old dude beating these cars like if it's a race car. So go to a heavier weight, and that should help you a lot more. If you live in the winter, right now it's about, I think, 28 degrees outside. It's freezing. So for you to, it's going to take at least 30 minutes for this engine oil to finally get to 170 degrees. It's going to take you that. Don't ever pay attention to the gauge where it says the coolant temperature. Coolant temperature is always going to go up the fastest. Your coolant temperature could be up in 5 to 10 minutes, but your engine oil is going to take about 25 to 30 minutes and under 30 degrees to finally get to the right, to operating temperature. So for those first 30 minutes, it's crucial that you're not beating on the car, beating and abusing it. Okay, guys? Don't do that. And if you do have enough time, when you pull up, just slow down and let the car idle itself off for 2 minutes. A lot of high performance turbo cars actually still have turbo timers on it, where the car will still run coolant and run engine oil and run a lot of systems so that the oil won't bake on into certain metal components and the coolant could still cool off a lot of the components. This just prolongs the longevity of certain crucial components on the car. So off the turbo seals, where now, we should now be finished with everything. Nothing else is popping up to me from what I can look at. There's little things that has happened on this platform, but it's maybe just one person that might have come across. So I'm just going to just end this one off and just leave that as, this is everything I can remember for the engine. So let's move to the inside of the car. All right, guys. So now we're in the car, and I'm going to tell you some of the issues you may deal with inside the car itself. Number one, this center console I've had 3 of these: 2015 Q50, 2018 Q50, and 2017 Q60. This center console may, repeat, not turn on one day. You might have it on driving and it might go black and then come back on. It doesn't happen often. I've had this car for almost a year now, and it happened about twice. On my other cars, probably 5 to 6 times a year. Nothing too crazy. It doesn't affect, and it comes right back. I never lost audio or anything crazy like that, but that has happened. What I would also add from the interior is, remember, there's still a delay. Once again, these are annoyances / these are not really critical issues. I'm talking about annoyances right now. Those critical issues was the engine. The annoyances will be here. So with another annoyances, there will be a delay of the Bluetooth. You can use the iPod plugin. That usually works a lot better. So there won't be a lag in it, but that's just a minor annoyance. Well, a few other things I want to tell you guys. Honestly, with the interior, not really much. I mean, it's still a basic Nissan Infiniti interior, so I really don't have too much to beat on with the interior. But I do want to show you this. Here's another annoyance. Let's start the car up. All right. bear with me, guys. Let me make sure my Bluetooth and stuff isn't on. But I want you guys to take, this is another annoyance that you guys need to deal with, right? Go swipe it over and go to Infiniti Drive Selector. If you have this on an Infiniti vehicle, please do this. All right, go to active trace control and make sure that is set to off. The reason why this is a huge annoyance with this car is this. The ABS system, what the car would do is when the car detects that you're turning, depending on how much degrees you're turning the wheel, it would actually drag the rear brakes to assist you in making that turn. And what happens is your rear brakes will eat up so fast. Remember, I had 3 of these cars. 3. And I forgot to do it the first time, my 2015. So then I turned it off. The 2018, I forgot it was on. It ate up the rear pads. And then the 2017, I automatically turned it off. So guys, you're going to need to turn off the active trace control because this will actually slow down the car while turning, well, which is fine during daily driving traffic, but your pads will eat up really fast. My rear pads were going at about 5,000 miles. So I recommend leaving this off. There's not really too much other annoyances here with anything with the infotainment that I necessarily had so much really an issue with. It's just that this stuff is just really a waste of time, and honestly I just don't really care for it that much. Like, it really doesn't satisfy me that much. I mean, another annoyance I could sit there and say is when you auto start this car, or let's say you regularly start it, it doesn't really save your last settings. Like when it's cold outside, I start the car and I have the auto steering heater set on, right? And I'll start the car and it's freezing outside, and it won't be. Sometimes it would auto start and the heater would start warming the car up. Other times it will not. Same thing if I press these buttons and keep this in auto. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. I just don't know why. I kind of wish that this car or cars, I'll just assume that this car, because I have this car. I sometimes just wish that these cars could save the last settings of when you turn off the car, rather than you have to turn the car on and change up the settings every time. Because with the regular analog buttons and analog knobs and stuff, it would be in the last settings. But when it comes more digital, it always somehow resets. It's just super annoying. I really don't like that. That's one of the annoyances I must say that I dislike about Q50s and Q60s. And that's with all 3 of the cars I have with this infotainment. Now, I want to move to this passenger seat. All right? This one right here. Now, I'm not talking about the Q60. I'm not talking about the Q50. I want to talk about, if you have an Infiniti, this maybe even applies to the G37s. When you're on the highway going 45, 50, 55, 60 miles an hour, this freaking seat will vibrate. Look. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why. It's even, well, that's right there. It just will vibrate. It's like it's not affixed all the way in this car. So just know that if you're by yourself, this passenger seat will vibrate and shake a little bit. You can balance the tires. You can change out the wheels. You can do whatever you want to make sure that this thing doesn't vibrate. But Infiniti, from what I've been told from other people who complained about it in the earlier years, what they chose to do was they took it to Infiniti, and I believe the tech have put some kind of washer or bracket or something, I'm assuming a watch or something, so that it won't vibrate anymore at those speeds. But it does happen. So it's a vibration that's coming from, I think, from the car itself and moving into and vibrates within the car. So I don't know if that's really a problem with one of the suspension components or not, and I don't necessarily know the fix. But it is quite common, and it is an annoyance in this platform that I did notice. Now, finally, I don't really have too much other problems or annoyances with the interior necessarily itself. So I'm going to go do one last walk around the car on the outside, and I'll let you guys know if there's anything else that pops up. All right? All right, guys, so I really don't have too much to complain about when it comes to the exterior or anything else. What I would say is if you're still on run flats for the Q50 Q60, please drop your 19-inch run flats or 20-inch run flats. It's like riding on skates. So definitely change that out. I have non-run flat tires in the car, and it changed the drivability, the handling, the braking, and the road noise dramatically. There's really nothing else I can really add and let you guys know so much about the car that really just pissed me off, or just dealing with the car for so long. So I'm gonna pretty much end this video by saying this about the car. I've had two VR30s, 2018 Q50, 2017 Q60, both of them from stock to fully modified on 91, and this one's gonna be on E80. It's on E85 at this current moment. Well, it's going up to E30. And what I gotta tell you guys is this: take care of your cars. Change the oil, change the brake pads, change the tires. Start the car, warm it up, give it 5 minutes. Don't really start beating on the car out the gate, and just take your time with it, and it will take care of you. Every car is gonna have its own pesky issue, and you know, some of them could be expensive. On this one, not necessarily. For some of the most unfortunate people, those small percentage of people who might have had porous block or the injector issues, some of them were taken care of after warranty. But moving forward, you can't label a whole brand or a trim level of car just because 10 people might have had an issue. There's always going to be a small group of people who had a manufacturer defect, and that was what caused that reliability issue. So in this video, I was just trying to give you guys an honest opinion on the people that I know on the platform, from me as me as an owner, from the people who hit me up in my DM, and from the techs that I know, and what some of the common problems that they deal with. There are going to still be other techs who talk about other issues, because they are the techs that work on the cars. I'm just speaking on the stuff that more commonly that I see in the performance community, and or some of the guys who just have honestly regular stock cars. So outside of that, guys, I hope you really enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification, hit all. Hit me up at boostinmotion on IG, Facebook, and boostinmotion on gmail.com. Otherwise than that, guys, I do want to throw in a last one here. It just popped in my head. If you do have Ekabono brakes, the BBK brakes, they will squeak over some time. I did make a video on how to eliminate that squeaking issue. So definitely, hopefully I'll put the link up there or something like that. But they do squeak. It can be an annoyance, but it's nothing that destroys the performance or affects the performance of the car. So outside of that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys so much. You have a good day. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Do appreciate you guys. Love you guys very much. You can also check out the 2 links I posted for some of my other videos. Also, on top of that, if you want to purchase some boostinmotion merch, definitely check the link that I posted also. And finally, if you've been watching all my videos and you enjoy them, please hit the link to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.